Cardano's price is dropping and everyone is freaking out. But I just found a clue that could mean Cardano is primed for a massive comeback. It sounds crazy, I know. Why would I be bullish when ADA has been tanking? Well, stick with me here because what I discovered might just change how you see Cardano's future. Let me set the stage. The other night, I was doom scrolling through crypto news. ADA is in the red again, and I'm feeling that familiar pit in my stomach. Now, as a Cardano holder, over the past week, we saw Cardano fall by 14%, and it's down nearly 30% on the month. Pretty ouch, right? Everywhere that I look, people are either panic selling or declaring Cardano dead. Right? Been there, heard that. But just as I'm about to lose all hope, I stumbled on this analysis by a trader on TradingView who's going by the name that I simply won't pronounce here because, well, I just can't pronounce it. Anyway, that stops me in my tracks, right? That analysis, this analyst is basically saying, relax, Cardano's bullish structure is still intact. I was like, wait, what? Bullish? Really? Have you seen the charts? No. He points out that if Bitcoin and Ethereum recover from their current slumps, Cardano could be a strong, or at least in a strong catch-up play for the next altcoin cycle. Now, in plain English, ADA's been lagging behind the big boys, right? So when the market turns upwards, ADA might actually play catch-up in a rather big way. And you know what? I'm sitting here thinking, either this is hopium, or I've just found the silver lining that I needed. So I dove deeper into his argument, with a healthy dose of skepticism, of course. And you know what? The more that I read, the more that it made a lot of sense. So by the end of this video, I promise you're going to see Cardano's situation in a new light. I'm also going to share what I'm personally doing about it, how I'm positioning myself from staking my ADA to trying out some wild new projects that got me hooking up some phones for some crypto rewards. Yeah, that's a true story, by the way. And here's a spoiler. I've got plenty exciting updates for our Cardano stake pool that could actually help you make the most out of your own ADA. Now, I hope you're ready because this is a story that's going to get really interesting. This isn't just another price prediction video. No, this is my story of rediscovering why I fell in love with Cardano in the first place, even when things looked bleak. So let's set the scene. Now, let's go back a little bit. Earlier in the day, Cardano had joined the rest of the crypto market in a slide. ADA was hovering around the mid 50-cent range, which, let's be honest, is not where we expected it to be by late 2025. It was down 5% in 24 hours, adding to the bearish pressure that had built up for a few weeks. Sentiment, that was in the gutter. People on Twitter, or X or whatever we're going to be calling it now, were mocking ADA yet again. You know, the usual jokes, ghost chain, right? Cardano's never catching up. Now, I wasn't laughing, but I wasn't panicking either. Right? Years in crypto, they have taught me that just when you think an asset is done for, that's often when something actually flips. And as it turns out, that flippening might be closer than we think for ADA. So here's what the analyst noticed that so many others had missed. Cardano has been trading inside a huge ascending channel, climbing its way up from the depths of 2022's crypto winter, right? Picture a gentle upward sloping corridor on the chart. So since the brutal crash of 2022, ADA has actually been slowly, steadily recovering inside this channel. Higher highs, higher lows, inching upwards like a determined turtle. Right? Cardano is kind of like the tortoise, I guess, in crypto, right? Slow and steady. Now, even with the recent drop, guess what? Cardano is still within that channel, right? The analyst has called it a bullish wedge, basically saying that the big picture uptrend is still intact despite the short-term downtrend. Now, the lower boundary of that channel, the floor, if you will, runs roughly at around somewhere between 55 and 66 cents. And the bears, for all of their efforts, they just haven't managed to break that floor for a while. ADA dipped to around 58 cents, where at least, where it is at the point of this video, but that kind of is smack in the middle of the support zone. In other words, Cardano is actually holding the line right now. And as ADA stays above 55 cents, as long as it does, this analyst insists that we're still in bullish territory. So hopefully that blew your mind because everyone else was so focused on the dip that they didn't actually notice the foundation holding strong underneath. It's like, imagine, right, looking at a house, seeing some peeling paint and think, this place is falling apart. But someone else points out that the foundation is rock solid. Well, that's essentially what's happening here with Cardano's chart. The foundation, the support, that is solid, even if the paint job, the price action, looks ugly right now. Okay, so support is holding. What about the upside then? Well, this is where it gets rather exciting. Right, the analyst highlighted a resistance level, basically a ceiling that's been keeping ADA down since December of 2024. That was when ADA peaked at around $1.32, by the way. So think of it like a glass ceiling inside that channel then. ADA's bumped its head a few times against it, but it's never really broken through. Now the prediction is that ADA will retest that ceiling soon. And if Cardano can crack through it, boom, it could be off to the races. How far, you ask? Well, his midterm targets are around $1 to $1.20. Now, from a 58-cent ADA, $1.20 sounds pretty amazing. That's roughly a doubling of the price, 100% gain, give or take. Even a conservative end, $1 is about a 72% pump, at least increase, right? It's not too shabby for a dying coin, right? Anyway, he's not alone in this thinking. A prominent chartist named 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗿 is apparently calling for a move to the $1.20 range as well, before an even bigger surge, right? Now, 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗃 thinks that ADA could actually make a continued move towards $2.91, more than in a second or two. Now, if ADA does hit $1.20, that's pretty cool and all. But what really got my attention here was the longer term possibility. Right? Because according to this analysis, if Cardano keeps riding this channel and actually breaks out above the channel's upper resistance, which was around $2.30 by the way, then we're looking at a potential target of $2.80 and even $3. Yes, $3 ADA could be on the table once again. Now for context here, Cardano's all-time high was around $3.10 back in 2021's bull run. So $3 isn't a fantasy number. It's basically just getting back to its glory days. From there, well, from where we are right now anyway, around 58 cents at the point of recording, $3 is roughly a 5x. In percentage terms, that's 400% plus, right? Now, those targets, by the way, they weren't just plucked from thin air either. They line up with major Fibonacci levels. If you're into the technical analysis, then you know that that's a pretty big deal. And other structural signals and on the chart too. So in other words, there's some method to all of the madness that is here. So hearing all of this, I was kind of excited. I mean, who wouldn't be? The idea that ADA could potentially 5x in this upcoming cycle is the kind of thing that makes you want to double check that you've got enough ADA in your wallet, right? Well, believe me, I did. But I was also cautious. Right? We've all seen optimistic predictions before. Some pan out, many don't. So I had to ask myself, is this the beacon of hope that we're looking for or just pure hopium? And that's exactly when I reminded myself that I'll remind you too of something that is super important. Don't take anyone else's word as gospel, especially not mine. Right? In fact, let me put in at least on my serious hat here for just a second to drop a quick disclaimer because it is crucial. Now this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, that's the disclaimer over, the serious hat comes off. Hopefully you're still with me here, cool. Now, let's talk about what I'm actually doing with all of this information, because it's one thing to speculate, and it's another to prepare. First, staking my ADA, making my ADA work harder for me. Now, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Staking is a Cardano holder's best friend, right? Instead of leaving my ADA just chilling in my wallet doing absolutely nothing, I delegate it to earn more ADA. It's kind of like earning interest, but in crypto form. And the beautiful part? My ADA never leaves my wallet. It's never locked up or anything like that. I can move it at any time. So staking is so flexible with Cardano that you'd actually be kind of nuts to not do it. At least in my opinion, if you're holding ADA for the longer term. Full disclosure, I actually run a Cardano stake pool with its ticker Cheek, as in after the name of our community, Cheeky Crypto, right? So yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but do hear me out here, because when you stake with a pool like Cheek, CHEEK, then you're actually helping to secure the network and you earn rewards that are paid in ADA every epoch, which is about 5 days. So it's a great way to make your ADA work harder for you rather than just sitting idle waiting for the price to moon. Now, the rewards can really add up over the months and the years, compounding into a larger stack of ADA by the time that the next altcoin cycle really kicks into high gear. If you haven't staked your ADA yet, seriously, look into it. Whether you join our Cheek pool or another reputable pool, just do it, right? You'll thank yourself later down the line. And if you already are staking with someone else, but you want to support the channel here and the content that I create, well, you're welcome to redelegate to the Cheeky pool too. It's one of the best ways to actually support us because it helps keep the lights on and the videos coming, all while you are earning rewards. Plus, like I said, your ADA is never locked. You're in full control 100% of the time. So if you change your mind or you need to move your funds, you can just withdraw it or switch to a pool at a different time. There are no penalties. So there's really no downside, only upside in the form of passive ADA income. Now, we have an awesome community of ADA holders in our pool already, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. And if you have any questions about staking, you can hop into the free Discord. The link is in the description down below. We've got a bunch of experienced people who can really help you out and answer any questions, myself included. We're all learning and earning together. Second, being exchange ready. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. Now, let's talk about the exchanges here. Now, this might not sound as exciting, but trust me, it's very important for anyone in crypto. One lesson that I learned the hard way: never rely on just one exchange, right? You never know when an exchange might suddenly halt withdrawals, experience an outage, or heaven forbid, go bust like FTX and then claim to rebrand themselves and relaunch. Don't go to FTX, guys. Anyway, we've seen this happen many times before. Now, I won't mention more names. FTX should be enough to strike the fear into any crypto holder. But a certain high-profile exchange collapse a few years ago, such as FTX, is a major lesson. Since then, I've made it a pretty big point to sign up for KYC and test out as many reputable exchanges as I possibly can. Why? It's because if I need to make a quick trade, take some profits, or buy a dip, and exchange A is down or swamped with traffic, well, I can just immediately jump over to exchange B or C. There's no waiting around, there's no panicking. Think of it like having multiple escape doors, in a building. It's better safe than sorry, right? Now, I do keep a handy list of all of the exchanges that I use on my website. That is also linked in the description down below. Now, these are platforms that I've personally vetted and use quite regularly. You'll see some pretty big names like Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and you'll see some newer ones like Blowfin and BitGet on the list too, among many others. Now, these are exchanges that I've had good experience with. Now, here's a quick transparency though, right? The links on my website, they are affiliate links, which means that if you sign up through them, it actually helps support the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. You've got to keep it FTC compliant, right? So yeah, if you use those links, you're basically throwing a little thank you my way at no extra cost to yourself, which of course I deeply, deeply appreciate. But affiliate link or not, the core message remains true. Have your backup exchanges at the ready. Don't wait for everyone else and their grandmother be trying to register at the last minute, because one exchange froze up, it's not going to be good. Do it now, get verified, test with small trades, and you'll know the ropes. Trust me here, when the market gets wild, and it will, you're going to be glad that you did this. Third, exploring new opportunities. And this is where we talk about Unity. All right, so the time of that wild new kind of project that I teased earlier, right? Because Unity nodes is one of those off the beaten path things, but it's been a part of my broader strategy to maximize crypto gains. Now, if you're a regular viewer, you've probably heard me mention Unity many times before, but if not, here's the elevator pitch for you. And Unity is a decentralized network where you can essentially turn a spare smartphone or other devices into mini telecoms nodes that earn cryptocurrency for you. Now think of it like mining, but instead of running power-hungry ASIC miners, you're actually just using everyday devices to provide some verification data services to the telecom industry. And in return, you get paid out in crypto. Now, I got intrigued by Unity because it's quite unique and it has a potentially big upside if it succeeds. Now, it has been founded by World Mobile, which many of you guys may know, and Minutes Network. They actually launched 6,000 Unity Node NFTs, which each of them gives you 200 licenses. Now, each license lets you connect one device. So one basically node lets you connect 200 different devices to the network. So I went ahead and I bought a master node NFT, which gives me those 200 licenses to play with. Right? The app has just gone live, and my plan is to start off with a small test, connect 10 phones on the network to see how it all works in practice. If it is smooth and profitable, awesome. I'm going to consider scaling this up gradually. If not, well, it was worth a try, right? Now, one cool thing that I can do is choose what cryptos that I get paid out in with my Unity rewards, right? Now, I'm planning to get paid in a mix of different things, such as Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and of course, ADA, which I'll then also stake to compound even further. So yeah, you heard that right. Unity will pay out some top cryptocurrencies, and I'm opting to accumulate more Bitcoin, Ether, XRP, and Cardano through this system. I figure if Cardano is going to the moon, then I'm going to want more ADA. And if not, well, I'm still stacking other blue chips too. It's a win-win situation if it works as advertised. Essentially, I'm going to be stacking more crypto passively over time without lifting a single finger after the setup. Kind of like earning interest, but through bandwidth and, basically doing these verification checks with the telecoms industry. Now, I should say that this is an exciting time, but we do need to also be real. We need to be grounded because Unity, it is new. It is experimental. It sounds fantastic, right? But we have to see how it all performs in the real world. So please do your own research on this, on anything that I talk about really, and I will include some links in the description down below for Unity's light paper and their rewards calculator so that you can read up on all the nitty-gritty details for yourselves. Make sure that you understand something that you are comfortable with it before thinking of jumping on in. Anyway, in my case, I'm treating it as a fun little side experiment. Like, if it works, it's going to be really awesome. And if it doesn't, it's not really that much of a big deal. I should probably also mention that I ended up grabbing a couple extra Unity Node NFTs with some additional licenses, right? But I know this is really just because not everyone wants to have a full master node with 200 devices to manage, right? Specifically, if you've got a day job with a 9 to 5, you don't want the hassle of that. So I've decided that I'm going to lease out some extra licenses to community members who are curious but don't want to commit to the whole thing themselves. This way, if you want to potentially get involved with just maybe one phone or maybe just like 5 or 10 phones instead of a full 200, well, you can. There's going to be more information down in a Discord server on how to take part. Of course, the Discord, it's another reason to join it if you haven't done so already. It's free, and it's where we discuss all projects like this in real time. Now, I'm pretty excited about this collaborative approach, by the way. It's kind of like we're building our own little Unity army without actually everyone having to take on the full cost for this thing. Again, this is all optional and experimental, just sharing what I'm up to, not saying that you need to do it, but it's cool stuff. And it's like this that actually keeps me from, I guess, obsessing just over ADA's price action 24/7. I would rather stay rather busy and keep building things like this in the quieter times. Okay, let's bring this back to Cardano because at the heart of this story is kind of where the big picture takeaway is, right? Because Cardano tests your patience at times, but it also rewards your patience too. Now, this analysis that I found, it reminded me, while a lot of people only see the day-to-day price swings, there's a much bigger narrative that is playing out here. ADA has a strong support underneath it, a potentially explosive setup that is forming, and a community, like all of us here, that have not given up. Now, I remember the last bull run. ADA went from pennies to $3. People made fun of Cardano for moving slow. And then all of the research and all of the product, right, for years. But then suddenly, 2021 came around. ADA's silenced a lot of haters, at least for a while. And I feel like we might actually be in for a very similar plot twist. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but if the chart is anything to go by, Cardano could be coiling up for a very powerful move in the midterm. And beyond that, if the stars align and the crypto market goes into a full-blown bull mode, who knows? ADA could even make a run back to its previous all-time high and possibly even beyond. I mean, think about it. Bitcoin's halving has occurred, depending on, I guess, when you're watching this, maybe the next one's just around the corner. And historically, the year or so after the halving event has the altcoins have their time to shine their brightest. Now, that's kind of the altcoin cycle that people believe in. I'm not a big believer of altcoin cycles and altcoin seasons because really it's only truly actually happened once before. But what I am thinking about is the ETF season that is looming. ADA is not going to be left out of the ETF party, and I think that that's going to be a massive catalyst for institutional money to come on in. This cycle that we're going to be witnessing, it might not be retail investors at all in like previous cycles have seen. It might just be driven from the institutional players. Now, if Bitcoin is going to rip higher, which I think it probably will, money does tend to want to cycle around. And because it is now a stock market play, money's going to roll out of the Bitcoin ETF into maybe an Ethereum ETF, maybe to a Solana ETF, maybe then to a Cardano ETF. Cardano, XRP, once of course Bitcoin cools off, I think are going to perform very well. Cardano, it has been underperforming against Bitcoin and Ethereum, but they haven't been playing on a level playing field. It's like comparing apples to oranges. Once the Cardano ETF gets approved, which I think it will, it's inevitable in my opinion, then we're actually going to start comparing apples to apples, which is exactly why I think it's more room to the upside and more room to grow when it finally does come true. Now, it's kind of like that friend who's late to the party, but when they show up, they steal the spotlight, right? That might just be ADA. Now, I'm not saying all of this just to hype you up irresponsibly. I want you to remain rational here. Hope for the best, but prepare for anything, right? That is always going to be my motto. By staking, by diversifying my crypto activities like Unity, by staking, by staying ready on exchanges, and essentially just covering my bases. If ADA pumps, fantastic. I ride that wave, even have more ADA from staking than I started with. And if ADA doesn't pump right away and just stays flat or even dips a bit more, well, I'm still going to be earning some ADA rewards and exploring new projects that yield other coins. Either way, I'm growing my overall position in the crypto space. And mentally, I don't feel helpless here. I feel empowered because I have a game plan. So here is where we land. The analysis, it gave me hope, but my preparation gives me confidence. Cardano could very well be a strong catch-up play in the next cycle, as the analysts have said. Now, the targets of $1, $2, $3 ADA, they aren't just fairy tales, they're actually grounded in real technical setups. My personal target, $5, because that's where the 1.618 Fibonacci sequencing is telling me for an ending diagonal structure from 2020 through to where we are in 2026. So, there's a lot to talk about. Will it happen exactly as predicted? Nobody really truly knows. Markets have a way of humbling us all, but I like the odds of what I see in a solid foundation just like this. And even more, I love the journey of getting there, right? Because being a Cardano holder has led me to learn so much. Running a stake pool, building a community, experimenting with new technology like Unity nodes, and even simple stuff like smart risk management, multiple exchanges, etc. It's not just an investment, it's an education and an adventure. So if you're still listening to my story here, then I'm going to assume that you're either a crypto enthusiast or at least crypto curious. And to you, I say, don't lose sight of the bigger picture. The day-to-day prices will mess with your head. Zoom out. Look at where Cardano started and where it is now. Look at the developments, the upgrades, Hello Hydra scaling sidechains, it's midnight, all of the nerdy stuff that is happening behind the scenes. There's a reason that Cardano has a loyal following. It's built methodically, and sometimes that slow, steady approach wins the race at the end. Remember, the tortoise and the hare. Cardano is definitely more tortoise than hare, and if this analysis is right, our slow but steady tortoise might shock everyone by the sprinting when it counts. I'm cautiously optimistic about ADA's next chapter. I've positioned myself to benefit if it takes off, but I'm also keep building if it takes longer than expected. I encourage you all to think about your own strategy in the same way. Are you making your assets work for you? Are you prepared for different outcomes? Take some time to consider all of that, because crypto is a wild ride and fortune favors the prepared. At the end of the day, whether Cardano hits $3 or not, being part of this community and journey is rewarding in itself. We learn, we adapt, and we share these experiences together, right? Like we're doing right now in this video. And personally, I find that pretty awesome. If you've enjoyed this story and want to join me for the next one, make sure to smash the like button and the subscribe button and become part of the crypto community. Until next time, stay safe out there and of course, keep stacking those coins. I'll see you in the next video.